Hello everybody, and welcome back to my YouTube channel where I talk about being autistic from the stance of being autistic. So today we're going to talk about autistic burnout. So the result from chronic life stress and maintaining expectations and abilities without adequate support. So how is it different from, say, regular burnout that neurotypicals tend to go through? Well, neurotypicals tend to really only burn out from stress of work, whereas we tend to burn out from pretty much every life aspect. Autistic burnout is from chronic stress of living and working in the neurotypical world. So that will be life stress, that's social stress, and sensory stress. And it can also cause a multiple different situations, okay? So it can cause emotional dysregulation. It can cause a decrease in self-care. It can cause extreme irritability, low motivation, anxiety, depression. It can make you lethargic. It can cause memory issues. It can cause select mutism. It can cause reduced executive function, and it can also cause unalived thoughts. So with all this, how long can it last, right? So it can be caused in any length of time, okay? You can have it for weeks, you can have it for months, you can have it for years. You could possibly never get better from being in autistic burnout. It can also just make you have other disabilities, but it can just ultimately debilitate you into not being able to work any longer. And you're seeing that even more so in people like me who are late diagnosed. So what can help if you're in autistic burnout, right? It helps getting plenty of sleep, whether that be naps or nighttime sleeping, okay? You have to eat enough, which we know as an autistic community, eating enough can be a struggle, right? They say exercise can help, which, listen, I am one of those people who gets so tired of being told if you would just exercise, it would help. But sometimes exercise can help in moderation, but it all depends too on your capabilities. So if you already have a lot of debilitating physical pain, this is obviously not your go-to scenario. I am one of those people. Meditation can also help. So obviously yoga, which ties into a lot of the exercising situation, but you can also meditate without doing the actual yoga part and the exercising. There's breath work, there's books on it. It's a whole thing you can look into. I highly recommend it because being autistic, sometimes we forget how to properly breathe, and I'm one of those people. And obviously, of course, seeing a therapist. I recommend, as my therapist has even told me, is it's better to have a therapist when you're fine than to need a therapist desperately when everything is coming crashing down. So being in therapy is super helpful, especially if you're like the autistic community where most of us struggle to talk about emotions. Having therapy definitely has helped me because I struggle with that aspect of talking through my emotions, and I have a wonderful therapist who I love and adore. Um, so my personal stance, being late diagnosed, I'm obviously still recovering from autistic burnout. And now that I know that I am autistic, I know that a lot of issues that I have been having has been from autistic burnout. And I always thought it was just depression or anxiety or a multiple, like, both scenario kind of thing. But now I know that most of my issues that I deal with anymore is from autistic burnout. It can get me really down, because currently in my life, everything is wonderful. I have a wonderful job that I love and I'm really happy with. I currently nanny. The family that I nanny for is so wonderful and I love them so very much, more than I could ever explain to them. I love the kids that I care for. I have a wonderful, supportive partner. I like every aspect is going great, but I am still struggling with everything, everything. And it's like, why? And I have been stuck in a rut for years now, being like, why am I still so down? And especially now where even my work aspect is great. Why am I still struggling? And I know now it's because I'm in autistic burnout from years of working full time and not knowing that I'm not neurotypical and trying to be neurotypical to the point that I was putting these labels in my head of how I needed to be, but I am not neurotypical. So I was never going to live up to what I thought I needed to be and do. And I'm still trying to fight to get out of burnout. Helping significantly is that I went from full-time to part-time. And there are so many percentages, like, I'm trying to think. I want to say it's like, I could be wrong, so don't judge me if this quote is not perfectly accurate, but I want to say it's like 15% of people with autism that can work full-time jobs because we cannot regulate ourselves appropriately. We can't thrive in a full-time job experience. And so obviously going down to part-time has helped me a lot, but I'm still like struggling to be a person. I'm also dealing with other debilitating conditions that I'm trying to deal with. I have fibromyalgia. I got diagnosed with sleep apnea. I finally have a CPAP machine, but I'm still struggling with sleep severely. So we're still trying to figure out what is making me so tired still. I'm still in so much pain with my fibromyalgia. And in turn, all of that makes me kind of depressed. And I think that it's important to note that depression gets confused a lot with autistics and autism burnout. They'll say that, like, oh, you're clearly just depressed because you're unmotivated, you're struggling to work and whatnot. But it's not actually really just depression, it's autistic burnout. Because it looks a lot the same from a neurotypical standpoint, because you don't want to do the same things. You get worn out, you get, like, obviously all the same kind of symptoms, but it's different. I am dealing with a lot of sensory issues issues a lot as of late too that I've noticed that I'm obviously now being able to pinpoint more. Um, on really bad days where my pain's really bad, my sensory problems will increase where it's like any bad fabric is making me want to just rip my skin off. Um, I keep a little bin of fidget toys for me because of that. Um, it it's easy to understand how this can be completely debilitating if you've gone on so long and you're late diagnosed. Um, Obviously, it's hard to claw your way back out from burnout. Because I am 35. I have worked full time for over a decade now. Um, and because I do love what I do for a living, people do take advantage of that, and that might be another video for another day when it comes to the things we deal with manipulation from neurotypicals, being autistic. But because of that, I get overworked, and so many other autistics get overworked because we are good at our jobs. So we will get used way more than we should. And because of that, that's what makes us get into burnout so hard that we can't get back out. And again, I, in over a decade, have been working full time, something I'm very dedicated to, something that is my special interest. Childcare development is my special interest, probably one of my biggest ones. And some of my biggest issues that have caused me to completely melt down have dealt with my work environment and not being heard and getting overstimulated from social interactions from other adults. And that in turn causes things like, low motivation. It can give you unalived thoughts. You're gonna get emotionally dysregulated when you don't feel like you're heard. And it really stinks. I really hope that one day maybe I will get out of autistic burnout. I don't know when that'll be. I don't know if I ever will. And now that I know it's very common, especially in late diagnosed, for us not to ever get out of autistic burnout, it kind of makes me give myself a little bit more self-love and self-care and understanding that, like, it's not just me. Being an adult and late diagnosed is hard. I think that is the biggest thing to stress with this video today, is that if you feel like you're in burnout and you don't understand why you can't get out of it, and you can't understand why you can't get better, and it all has to go back to, again, this world is not made for us. It's made for neurotypicals. You are not alone. There's the vast majority of us cannot work like normal adults. And unfortunately, another reason for burnout is because we know we can't just not work, right? Most of us need money. Most of us cannot be on disability. Some of us can't afford to be on disability, especially if you have a partner, because disability tends to not pay appropriately if you're married. And all of this goes back again that this world was not made for us, and that can be very upsetting and very depressing. And as much as, I don't want to be like, this is depressing, like, this is awful. And we want to think of the positivities of everything with being autistic, is that we aren't alone. Our community is wonderful and beautiful. But we do still have issues that we need to keep fighting for. And that's another reason why the actually autistic movement and talking more about your experience to the world is so important. And hopefully we can keep fighting for disabled people to be more heard and understood in this country, because our voice needs to be heard. And that's one reason why I started this YouTube. Since I've learned about myself more and more, since I've found more like-minded people, because there is a lot of amazing things about being autistic, and about learning that I'm not the only one is beautiful, and knowing that there is so many things that we can do that neurotypicals can't, and they never will. It's beautiful as well. But the fact is, like, our neurotype is very debilitating, and it's still good to talk about that as well, so that people that are in the process of self-diagnosis or trying to get diagnosed professionally, or just found out, that they think they might be, it's so important to also talk about the bad, because of the fact that we all just need to know we're not alone. And hopefully one day we'll be in a better place, and we'll be understood better, and things will be easier. I wish there was a better way to end this video of being like, this is the guaranteed way to get out of burnout. But unfortunately, I am still trying to figure that out myself. And it's not saying that I am unhappy at all. Like I said, I am the most happiest I have ever been. It's just frustrating when I have time to myself and I want to do more things as a functioning human being, and I can't do it because I'm too exhausted, I'm too much in pain, I'm having such a bad sensory day, which that happens a lot. When I have bad sensory days and I have days off, like, I just want to lay around and watch some goofy videos and goofy content, and I don't want to have to stress out about being an adult. So yeah, I'm sorry if this video seemed pretty heavy, because it's a little heavy topic, but I do have more videos that are going to probably be pretty long coming up about some pretty serious topics. I'm going to be diving in about Autism Speaks, which is probably going to be one of my biggest videos. So it's very important, though, that I talk about a lot of it, and it's going to be long, but it's important info that not only every autistic needs to know, but everybody needs to know. Everybody needs to know why Autism Speaks is not a good autistic representation for us as people, and why people need to stop supporting it. I have another big one where I'm going to talk about functioning labels, and why they're not necessarily okay. And I have some other ones coming up that are kind of correlating to all of those as well. So make sure you subscribe to my channel, and make sure you like my videos. It really helps me as a creator. I really would love to be a serious content maker where maybe I can make some money off this. It's not all about the money, mind you, but I want to make something important of this, because this is such an important thing to my life that I want to share it with the world, and that's why I do what I do. I am also in the process of being a part of a super awesome podcast, and the podcast is called Stereo Therapy, and it's about mental health and the aspect of music being able to help mental illness. I'm super excited to be a part of it, and the launch date right now for that podcast is April 11th. So if you love music, if music is one of your special interests, if your mental health revolves around music like mine has over the years, because probably my biggest form of therapy throughout my life has been music and it's been the most effective. Please make sure you subscribe and tune into that. My friend Lisa is the one that came up with it, and I feel honored to be chosen to help her along that ride. Again, it's stereotherapy, and then the website you can find it on is stereotherapypod.com. There's also a TikTok for stereotherapy. There's an Instagram for stereotherapy. There is a Facebook page as well, but it's not as kept up with as the others. So make sure you look elsewhere. And we are going to have it on Spotify as well. But if you don't use Spotify and you don't like to use Spotify, you can always listen to the podcast on the website. So make sure you tune into that as well. I'm really diving into a lot with my autism pages, and then with this music podcast that I'm excited for, which in turn has a lot of the autism kind of dived into it a little bit as well, but more so with my special interest with music, but it does come up. So I'm very excited for all these ventures because I feel like I have a voice to use, and I'm really excited to get that out there. So I really hope that you guys are excited for things to come with me, and I hope you guys stay along for the ride. And thank you so much for your support. I'll see you next time. Bye.